Hey, this is Monte from Beyond Unbroken, and you're watching Richard Metal Fan.
So what's up, guys? Episode 212 of Richard Metal Fan Interviews, calling from Zoom, and I'm here with Monty Money from Beyond Unbroken. How you doing today, Monty?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Doing pretty well. It's a rainy day here in Georgia. How is it over in, I believe, Vegas right now?
Oh no, I'm in Cali. I'm in
Oh,
Cali. I It's a nice day. Beautiful day.
yeah, I trade with you any day. Yeah.
Where are you at, you said?
Yeah, I live like in this town in Georgia called Kennesaw. It's like 35 minutes north of Atlanta.
Oh, okay, I know that area.
Hell yeah. So kind of like the format is I want to do like a rundown of your discography and talk about like your musical history, but take me back to young Monty Money. So kind of growing up, what were the first bands that got you into metal and what made you want to start playing guitar?
I actually was a new metal kid. I was
Hmm.
can you hear me good? Because there's
Yeah,
just some
I can hear you good. Like I
oh,
you were talking about you grew up as like a new metal guy, kind of similar with me a bit too.
yeah, I was into new metal. I like was raised on like honestly like System of a Down, Corn, Slipknot, like Slim Biscuit. I loved them all. I loved
Yeah,
like P Roach at the time. They were kind of like new metal more back then. Rap
yeah,
rock. Linkin Park was like obviously the main big juggernaut of that
yeah.
time.
Like Hybrid Theory and Meteora still slap.
Yeah, they slept to this day, and it's been
Yeah.
20
Have you heard
over.
like the Meteora 20-year anniversary stuff? Like they have like those unreleased songs called Lost and stuff. I that sounds like it could have been released today.
Yeah, I love Lost. I was like, dang, it's so cool to hear like those recordings from like over 20 years old, and it brings me back when I hear those. I was like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, like those were like the days. Like I miss kind of like I wish I cut was been born like 10, 15 years earlier to experience like all that and see them in concert.
I'm so happy I got to see Linkin Park in like prime concert with like POD. It was like just that new metal fest,
Hell
and
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's yeah, so tell me about like because a lot of people know you from Beyond Unbroken and of course obviously Escape the Fate. Were you in any bands even like before that? Because I know it's like you and your brother were playing guitar and stuff.
Yeah, I was in a couple like local bands that I like had. I was in what's it called? Just like, local bands growing up, started with your friends and before Escape Fate, like really yeah, just kind of like no, you probably wouldn't know him, but my brother also he was in like a few other bands too, local bands, and we were kind of bouncing around the Vegas scene for a little bit until we kind of became in Escape Fate, and then obviously, yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about how did you get to form Escape the Fate and know the guys? Because I know y'all Escape the Fate formed in 2004.
Yeah, it was actually from my old band. It was we were kind of like trying out new guitar players, and like we cycled in we're like, dude, let's have auditions, and we started trying out guitarists, and I found Omar. So Omar came and tried out, and we're like, whoa, this guy's in LA, dude. We're Vegas guys, right? And he just had that fucking cool Cali, like you know, we thought he was a fucking cool guy because he's like older than us, tatted up, playing fucking emo riffs, and we're just like, damn, dude, this guy's fucking cool. But he seemed a little too busy, so we kept trying guitarists out, and that's when we met Max Green. And I was like, oh, let me see you play. And I was like, oh shit, dude, Max rips that guitar. He's a shredder. And I guess he was having trouble with his like old band. And um, anyways, like later on that week, I was having trouble with that band, and I remember during that audition, Max mentioned like, yeah, Ronnie, you know, at the time he was kind of having beef with him, and he wanted to like depart from Ronnie. He was joining our band, right, as a guitar player. And I went home and I was like, I'm having trouble with my band right now, Michael, but I have an idea. What if I got Omar? I know we're trying him out, but what if we got Omar and I got Max because he originally was a bass player. And then I was like, and then me on guitar, and we brought Ronnie as a singer because I heard his demo and I thought he was a fucking great singer. And I was like, what if we formed a super band? And Michael goes, that sounds pretty like fucking epic right there. And then so I I made a plan to where all of us just met for the first time in my old band's practice room, and we all showed up, and I was like all nervous. I was like, "What if this ain't gonna work?" And Ronnie's like, "Bro, it's gonna work." And I was like, "Oh, okay, okay, dude." And so we went into my old band's rehearsal spot, used our equipment, and just like it fucking was magic. We were like, boom, and that's how Escape Fate was born.
Awesome. And then of course going a year later in 2005, I believe you pretty much won a radio contest like Judged by My Chemical Romance, and you got to open up for their show what they play with Alkaline Trio. So how did that end up happening, and how did you get into that contest?
I think we were getting hype around like the local area. Like we were selling out like little shows here and there. At the time they were little, then they got a little bit bigger. And so we had a lot of Vegas hype as like, big emo band, and obviously my chem's emo. And we drew a lot, and they're like, "Hey, we need an opener." And there was like a little radio contest. And so it made sense to like listen to the top local bands at that time. And luckily they picked us, and we got to open up for my chem. And at that time that was like, holy shit.
Yeah, because I know at that time you still had that self-titled demo from '05. Five, was that sort of like passed around locally to help get the hype of from Escape the Fate?
That definitely helped the hype. That definitely, I think that's like, we were kind of like that MySpace known band.
Yeah, because it was like '05, '06 was sort of like the beginning of MySpace.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
MySpace did so much for us at that time.
Yeah. Then eventually you got assigned to Epitaph record. So how did they find the band? Because I think I've had Max on here a while back, and he said like apparently he thought there was like a fake email, but then eventually you were like, no, that's a real person.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we kind of ignored the email. Because we had a bunch of label offers, but they were like kind of like local, and like guys that we couldn't take serious. Like one dude took us out to dinner and like pulled out a wad of cash and was like, "Yeah, well, if you guys sign with us, you know,
Yeah, bit sketchy.
big moves. You'd be making big moves." And yeah, and I was super sketchy, and we're like, "Bro, this is a joke." And then we kind of read the email and was like, "Dude, is this for real?" And then they're like, "Oh shit, this might be for real." And we got in contact, and they sent one of the reps out to the show, and we're like super nervous, like we gotta fucking have the best show ever. And we actually did have a fucking amazing show. And we got Epitaph. We got signed. We're super stoked.
Yeah, and then I think that first release with them was that There's No Symphony for the Dead EP, which I think was a really good, had like the early versions of like the title track and even Guillotine and Teen. I think those are like really good songs. So tell me about like that. Where was that recorded?
So that was recorded at the same time as our album. We wrote like 15 songs or like 16 songs, I don't know. And we had the plan of like doing an EP first just to kind of get known, and then drop the album after, just pick a few songs and put them on the album.
Yeah.
Uh, so it's kind of written at the same time.
Yeah. Then of course we get the debut album, Dying Is Your Latest Fashion, which in my opinion I think is like a great debut album, especially for like my generation. So what was the thought process going into making the debut full-length Escape the Fate album?
Um, that was fucking amazing experience. It was just kind of all happening so fast. We were signed. We got a producer coming into the room, kind of doing pre-pro. It was all new experience. I was like 18 years old, barely 18. And it just, life at that age for me at least was happening so fast, and it was fucking amazing. I thought we wrote like some of the best songs at the very end during like that pressure. We're like, oh shit, we got to finish an album. And we just like slammed in a bunch of songs at the very end. And yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Which songs were they?
Oh shit. It was like the
Got like the
guillotine.
track listing right here.
Yeah, there you go. There was the webs we weave, the guillotine, situations, the reverses curse, cellar door, friends and alibis, day I left. I mean, like there's only like three songs I think that weren't written.
Oh wow.
He wrote that literally all right before.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's hard to believe it's like 18 years old. Like I didn't even feel like it's been that long. I was like in sixth grade when this album dropped.
I was 18 when I was writing that album. Now I was 18 years old. Fuck.
Yeah, and I know recently you started doing like guitar playthroughs of some of the old ETF songs. So what made you decide to like do those do like playthroughs of those?
I would always get requests from them, and like I kind of like steered away because I was like, ah, I don't know. I don't really, but I know that's like, a lot of people want to see like their guitars play like a lot of their fucking favorite songs. And like I would, and actually I do like those riffs and those songs. And I was like, you know what, it'd be kind of fun if I kind of dove back into some of this old stuff and just played it for fun. It's been so long. And it was kind of fun to like reminisce to myself just playing those old stuff. It was like, oh, it brings me back. And I thought it'd be kind of fun to release those on like Instagram and stuff.
Yeah, and one of my favorite songs is, of course, Situations, which I love. Like the video of that song, I describe it as kind of like almost similar to like Hot for Teacher by Van Halen. The video is, especially with like you guys playing in school and stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely was a throwback to that. But at the time I didn't know that. I was just filming the video and I was like, hey, when I saw the final cut and edit, I was like, this
Yeah,
is fun.
yeah, especially like the intro with like Thurman and then Ronnie sort of like driving the bus, and it's great. I had no idea Thurman was actually in the Super Bad that movie with Jonah Hill.
I didn't know that. That I didn't know that he was in till
Yeah,
just now.
yeah. But then eventually you toured for this album a little bit, and then you had that whole like shit with Ronnie, which of course you don't have to get into that. So, what's for you? Was there even doubts of like continuing on Escape the Fate without Ronnie?
We didn't want to. Obviously you don't want to lose your singer. Um, it was definitely doubts. Like we all that shit was happening, right? And then we just couldn't get him. He'll even say himself he couldn't get himself like, out of it. And we tried everything, and then we were like, dude, this is it, it's over. It's no more. And then our manager called us and was like, hey guys, I got something. I got Craig on the phone, and we're like, Craig from Blessed Spot, we just got off tour with him. He's like, yeah,
Yeah,
he's like in the same situation, but he has no band. And we're
yeah.
kind of like, oh shit, could
Yeah,
this
because
work?
I've heard because I saw one interview. Apparently, he was contacting because he accidentally joined you all because he was going to try out for a Skylit Drive. So one of their members was called Joey, and then y'all had a manager called Joey, and so he got stuck talking to your manager, thinking he was talking to the other Joey. So somehow that's how he kind of found out about the gig, kind of by sheer accident.
Yeah, to a complete accident. He's like, it's kind of freaky, right? If you think
Yeah,
about it, that's like fucking saved our careers.
yeah,
Yeah, it was definitely like weird,
yeah. Were you kind of like
but it was
nervous, like?
cool.
Yeah, because were you like nervous at all debuting Craig? Because anytime when bands like change singers, there's always that doubt of like, will it work or won't it work? Because like for example, and I always say this like with Iron Maiden, because when Paul Di'Anno left the band, then they got Bruce Dickinson. People were kind of nervous about it, but then they put out Number of the Beast, and that's still one of the best metal albums of all time.
Yeah, I mean, that's what mainly you got to do. Where people were like, fuck no, it's not gonna work. They're done. And then you know, we were like, we gotta fucking put out a new album. So that's what we did. Like immediately we went in the studio, and yeah, we weren't sure it's gonna work because like we even had our doubts so much that we sent Craig back. We're like, hey man, this ain't working out. We love you, bro, but just ain't it ain't happening. And like we went back to Ronnie and called him and we're like, Ronnie, dude, please get your shit together, please. And he's like, yeah, 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 yeah. And then like little later that night, he was like obviously back on his, crazy fucking paranoia calls and freaking out. And like we just couldn't get him. So we called Craig back again. Like, Craig, this has to work, Craig. I don't care what we do, this has to work. And yeah. And that's kind of like it did work, you know?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, and kind of going into the next album, This War Is Ours, probably was my favorite album from Escape the Fate, because usually with the debut album, you have your entire life to write, and there's a lot of hype with the first album. When it came to making This War Is Ours, did you felt pressure to follow up Dying Is Your Latest Fashion?
A little bit because but we also were super young and at the time we kind of didn't care attitude. So luckily, like I was like, I don't give a fuck. We kind of had that kind of attitude of like, let's just fucking write what we got. And but I heard stuff around that like, oh shit, it's kind of poppy, and it was a little bit like, there was like and then that's where like we pulled out like, you know what, let's pull out the fucking guillotine part two. We're
Yeah.
not all fucking,
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's like the heaviest song on there. I remember seeing like one interview, somebody described it as like power metal for Warped Tour.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it definitely was like like I said earlier, I grew up on kind of like new metal and metal. I had also metal in there. And like I was like a metal kid that joined an emo band, I felt like. So because like obviously Ronnie's sings kind of like pop punk ish, and I was like learning like metal riffs and shit. But I think that dynamic worked well. And then when I joined in, he comes from a little bit more of like I don't know, Blessed Fall. They're like hardcore, I guess at the time. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, but I also love like the guillotine part two, which I still think is like one of my favorite Escape the Fate songs. Especially love the intro where you do like that little sweep pick thing. I thought that's like fucking awesome. One of the most technical sounding songs on the album. So how'd you come up with that little lead part? Still think it's still memorable and kicks ass.
Yeah, it was just we had like the guillotine part two idea, and we were just like, damn, dude, we gotta fucking like bring it if we're gonna fucking label it guillotine part two. And then we had like the Halo references, and like we all loved Halo. And Craig had the idea to do like that intro, and I was like, yeah, fuck yeah. And then it goes into like it was actually this chordy riff, and like I was like, that ain't it, man. I feel like I need to do something more. And Feldman at the time, Feldman, our producer, was like, I love that, it's like a pretty intro, it's cool. And I was like, and luckily the engineer I was working with, me and him were metalheads, and we're like, dude, it needs to fucking shred right here. So we kind of were like messing with shit. And then like I was like, what if it just did this like fucking arpeggio of just fucking sweeps and some, you know, tremolo trills. And I that's my favorite song too of Escape to Fate.
Yeah,
Myself, obvious reasons.
yeah, because you played on it.
Yeah, it's just, it's my favorite song too.
Yeah, like every song almost feels different. It almost kind of way in a way feels like a different band with every song. Like a song like Something is different from Ashley. It's different from This War is Ours to 10 Miles Wide. Like every song almost feels like different, like how you and Craig and Max and Robert were feeling at the time.
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely different, a variety of songs. And actually speaking of the guillotine too, our producer kind of was against it, and he was like he
Yeah,
took off the
yeah, I remember here when I interviewed Max, he actually mentioned that.
yeah, he was like kind of fighting back. He's like, I don't think so, man. Cause he comes from like Goldfinger. He's like makes pop records. He's like so to shredding fucking metal, he was kind of like, I'm not sure. At the time, at least at the time. I think he definitely opened up later on, but he was still at least he still did it, he was like, fuck yeah, let's do it then. So
Yeah. And another one of my favorite songs is 10 Miles Wide, which features Josh Todd from Beck Cherry. So what was that like working with him on that song?
that was awesome. Our manager brought him in to the studio, and we were kind of like, oh, nice to meet you. He's like, so what do you got? And I was like playing some emo riffs, and he was like, he's a rock guy. He's a fucking rock dude. And so I was like, you know what? I do got some of my background of like some metal riffs and shit. And like I was like, let me play him some of that shit. And then I started showing him stuff, and he immediately was like, yeah, where's this band? Yeah, dude, fucking turn on the mic, let's get in the studio. And we all like he took his shirt off, all fucking covered in tattoos, and we literally just like jammed and wrote 10 Miles Wide, like on the spot.
Yeah. And of course I
Pretty
had the deluxe edition. One of my favorite things, I love there's a remix called This War Is Mine, which of course remixed by Clown from Slipknot. How did he end up like remixing a song from here?
I think that was like I didn't know that either. I was kind of surprised for me. I was like, oh shit, we got Clown from Slipknot remixing that track. And they're like, yeah, they did. So they just told me one day, and I was like, oh shit, that's cool. And
Yeah.
yeah, that was definitely management
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
label.
Yeah. And what was like the touring like for This War Is Ours, especially with Craig as a new vocalist? Like how was like the reaction from fans and stuff?
It was cool. I mean, you had your like, your free Ronnie guys, like
Yeah,
free
I've seen like all those videos on YouTube, which is just ridiculous.
and we were like, yeah, free Ronnie. Oh, I mean, we hope he gets better. We didn't care really, but it was more of like the hate. Like it was like, fuck you, Craig, you fuck. And we're like, dude, what the fuck? We're just, that
Yeah.
was more like the part we were kind of like, I mean, what you can't help it. People are gonna hate. That's
Yeah.
I
Sometimes you
don't
gotta be like, fuck the haters. We gotta do what we do.
I don't think it's been 18 years, you said. I still think there's still some of that. The people are like, man, fuck that. If Craig fucking, and they still bring that up, and I'm like, bro, come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. People just don't learn, do they?
No, they don't. They don't. There's nothing you can do about it. You just got
Yeah.
to keep your head down, keep going.
Yeah. And hard to believe this year is 15 years of this album. So how do you feel about this album now as opposed to when you first released it?
Oh, I still love that album. I do. I love that album. A lot of great. I love that album. It just brings, for me, it brings me back to a certain time that was also like, I don't know, my youthful days or something, like, you
Yeah.
know, a warm place in my heart. I would say that.
Yeah. This think this came out like right during my
And we're
right. Yeah, it came out like right before or after like my freshman year of high school. So it still has like a certain place in my heart.
Yeah, like I mean, that's the album that literally would have made or break us, and it luckily fucking saved us. Like whether you like it or not, whoever you are, it literally fucking kept us going as like musicians. I don't know what I'd be doing. I'd probably just be a normal dude, fucking with a like a you know, I probably wouldn't be doing music. I don't know. So I'm just happy like that kept me doing what I love doing.
Yeah. And then going into the next album, the self-titled, I thought this was a pretty good album. So what was it like going from this to this?
Um, yeah, it was definitely a transition. I think we were kind of like listening to like darker stuff at the time, like more metal and I don't know, we had like a theme that we were thinking of doing, like kind of like we were listening to a lot of Manson, Nine Inch Nails, and some, you know, and we are kind of just themed it out to be a little bit darker, and yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It
be
has a bit
different.
of I could tell like the album artwork, it feels a little bit darker. And again, I was just curious because I want to know from you what was the reason for it being self-titled? Because usually when a band does like a self-titled, it's always like the first album, but it's like in the middle. I always feel like that's like a transitional or sort of like a new beginning for a band. Was that sort of like the reason for it being self-titled?
Yeah, at the time we kind of were like, I'm not sure if it should be self-titled, I don't know. But at the time, like we were writing, when I was writing with the guys and stuff, it just felt right. We were kind of like, yeah, dude, this is it. We were having fun. We are all like, um, come over, we'd write together, and I don't know. I know Robert was kind of like against it calling self-titled. He's like, I'm not sure if that's it yet, but we all eventually decided like, yeah, this is it. This is our self-titled album, and yeah, it
Yeah.
was kind of, I don't know. It was just I'm not, to be honest, I'm not sure if it should have been our self-titled name, but I'm not against it either.
Yeah, I still think there's some great songs on here like Massacre, Gorgeous Nightmare, Issues, like and even like the Aftermath, which I heard was supposed to be Guillotine 3.
Yeah, Guillotine Part 3.
Yeah.
Um, which is cool song. It's a cool song. Yeah, I love those songs. Songs are great. You know.
Yeah. And then of course the next album is Ungrateful, which I love this album. Of course, first album with your brother on guitar and of course with TJ Bell, formerly of Motionless in White, joining the band. So what was it like working with your brother on this album and of course with TJ? Like what was like your first impression of TJ?
Um, well, actually, my brother was on the last album too. He just was kind of like, you know,
Oh, really? I knew that.
yeah, no one wanted to, at the time. Yeah, he was like, it was me and him in the studio. Like my brother actually wrote majority of Gorgeous Nightmare. Um, but yeah, anyways, back to Ungrateful album. He was now like kind of like more announced, you know. Um,
Yeah, because he was doing like live stuff, playing with you live for a few years, but then he became official.
yeah, he was became official in, I think, at least like in pictures and stuff, in like around 2012 or something around then. But before then, he was kind of like, some of the guys in the band were kind of like, no, I'm the fucking, so my brother got pushed, behind, like, you know, to the
Yeah.
side, but it is what it is. And actually, eventually, at least like, the Ungrateful album, we're like, no more of that, dude. We're not fucking Queen. We're not fucking, we're fucking some fucking, escape the faith. Come on. It's not that serious. It's not that fucking big that we have to fucking hide somebody behind stage to fucking play guitar. It's not, especially
Yeah.
when he's doing all the work in the studio too. So it was kind of just like,
Yeah, because I know that there is like one like video somebody like re-uploaded an older video of you all like talking about it. Especially there's like videos where he was like behind the stage playing guitar and then eventually like playing in just like in a taped area and shit.
yeah, it's all true. That video is all true. That's just us being real. It's kind of fucked up, But at the time I was young and didn't really speak up like I probably should have. But
Yeah. Yeah, but what was that like working with a TJ on this album? Like what was your first impression of him?
he actually didn't really have much input yet. I think he was still kind of new and didn't know where to put his, like, he didn't know where to, like, I feel like he was still too new because he didn't really say much. He was just like, oh, okay. How's it? How do you do it? Okay. Just kind of like learning it. He didn't really.
Yeah, and I know like half of this album, like yeah, I think you actually produced and also worked with Brandon from Atreyu. What was that like working with him?
Brandon was fucking awesome. That guy is just like, I he came over and I showed him like the demos at the time. Like it was like Ungrateful demo, You're Insane, and like he just went into the vocal booth, didn't even warm up, and wrote those fucking songs. And I was like, holy shit. He's like, with bleeding hands, did that whole fucking. I was like, damn. And then he had the old intro idea of like, trying to tear me apart. He just fucking all in one take. Like, and I was
Yeah,
like, holy shit, this guy's fucking. And then I called because we were having trouble writing that. So, well, Craig was having trouble. I'm not sure what to do then. So we brought Brandon in, and when he wrote Ungrateful, the vocals, I called Craig and was like, dude, we got the vocal part down, and Craig's like, okay, I'll do that. Yeah, it sounds fucking cool.
yeah, yeah, and hard to believe this year is also 10 years of this album. So how do you feel about this being as this
Yeah,
was your last album with the band?
it was good. It was great. Damn, 10 years. Yeah, it was just I thought we wrote pretty good album. Um and yeah, wow, 10 years, huh?
Yeah,
Um
it
yeah,
doesn't even feel like it's been that long.
yeah, I know. I still love some of those songs on there too. Like Grateful still is like badass fucking song.
Oh yeah. Then you started touring it for a little bit, and then of course, like you and your brother left the band. Like, how hard was it to leave Escape the Fate?
Yeah, it was hard because I think I've said this before. It was just kind of hard because we were on such a fucking roller coaster of a ride, our careers at least. And then this was kind of like coming on the little bit lower, slower part of the ride. And it was just kind of like our time. We felt like we were kind of like, at least me, I was just kind of like, you know, um, I think to me, it was like this ship kind of sailed. Like we almost had that big crossover, I felt like, but it kind of quite didn't reach. And then it kind of just felt like I noticed some of the shows were getting smaller and some of the kids weren't showing up. And I was just kind of like, guys, love you guys, but I think I'm just gonna.
Yeah. Yeah, because it is what it is. But tell me about like cause forming like Beyond a Broken. Well, at first it was just called Money Brothers, and you did like those two singles, Break Free and Clarity. So what was that like? Like, cause working with you and your brother, and of course I think it was Patrick that was with you at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a definitely we got left and we were kind of like yeah, we was just like, hey dude, let's put something out real quick. We had a bunch of ideas and um we kind of just like called up one of my friends and I was like, hey man, can you record this song for us? And he's like, sure, dude, I'll record it. And then we went to release it. We didn't even have a name for ourselves like yet. We were searching for a band name, and we're like, everyone was calling us Money Brothers, obviously referencing us as Money Brothers and we were kind of rolling off it because we had Escape the Fate, One for the Money song out, and we were kind of like, yeah, One for the Money, Money Bros. So we kind of just like, oh yeah, that's how that came to be as Money Bros. And it was cool. You know, we had like two songs, but then we were like, all right, let's for reals, come on, let's get real and find a band name and let's get this ship going.
Yeah. And how'd you come up with the name Beyond Unbroken? I know it's the typical interview question, like, oh, what's the meaning behind the band name, or how'd you come up with that?
Um, it was we were in the studio and we were like, yeah, I think we watched that movie Unbroken, and then like I was like, that'd be kind of cool, something with like Unbroken in there. We had like named like Our Deception, Scars of Madness. We had some names thrown out there, and then like I don't know, someone just said like, "Oh, what about Beyond Unbroken?" And I was like, "That sounds cool." And like I remember our producer at the time was like, "That sounds like a new metal band," and I was like, "Cool," because I like new metal. And then you know, we it kind of just stuck. We were kind of like, "Yeah, we kind of all dig that. That's cool."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but tell me about like that first EP, Don't Wake the Dead. I thought that was a really great EP. It has some of my favorite songs like Memories, Overdose, Losing My Mind. I think it's just a really great EP. Pete, where was that recorded at?
That was recorded in Arizona with Matt Good, from First to Last Guy. Um, yeah, I think Matt was like super fucking perfect guy. You know, I was trying to become a singer still. I was like trying to sing. I mean, I always sang in the band, but it was like the first time that I was just like,
Like right up front.
and he's been through the same experience. So it really helped me because he's like, dude, I used to be backup for from first to last, and I became frontman when Sonny left. And I was like, oh shit, you know. So he was like the perfect guy to help coach me and help me figure out like my voice and stuff. And it was a great experience. And yeah, I loved working with Matt and writing that EP. It was great. I still love those songs to this day too. I was
Yeah,
like,
like especially like I think the first song I heard was of course Memories, especially with you singing. And I always love your voice. I was like, holy shit, you can really sing.
hey, thanks, appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah, when it came to like singing and playing guitar, as I always like to know, ask like bands that have like do both like when it comes to like the writing of the songs, do you ever just like practice it, figure out okay, where do my vocals go with like where I am on the fret, like do, or do you just like figure it out on the go?
Just like what you said, I kind of like it. I mostly do what you said, like kind of like just figure out like, oh, you know, where my vocals would be right here in like a minor key. And then I'm like, where my vocal range is, I know where my vocal range is on guitar, and I'm like, so I know if I'm like reaching too high, and I'll kind of transpose the song real quick because I don't want to get too many good ideas and I can't hit those notes. I'm like, fuck. So yeah.
Yeah. And then of course you did the debut full length album Running Out of Time, which I thought was a really good full length. So how was that like? Because I know it was 2020 was during like that whole pandemic with the certain virus that shall not be named. Did that sort of like at all like influence the album in a way?
Yeah, it kind of was like I think it definitely like when we released it, literally the COVID hit and we are kind of like, oh shit. Um, it kind of like stalled a lot of things for everybody in the world, you know. Um, yeah, but we got to do a re-release. I don't know if you heard about that. We got to do a re-release and re-release the album as a deluxe version. So
Yeah, I think it's on Spotify.
yeah, it got released and remastered, and yeah, I love Running Out of Time. That song's great. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I still think it's really great. Like I love the title track. I fuck things up in my head. Like I think all those songs are just bangers.
Thanks.
Yeah, I feel like the remastered made it kind of like a little bit more refined.
Yeah. Thank I'm look, you know, you're a musician probably too. I'm a musician. So like we kind of always are like, yeah, yeah, you know, always in my own head about it and stuff. But you know, sometimes it is a good song. You know, it's great. And like you write it, you move on. And some songs stick with you more than others. Like Running Out of Time sticks with me. Memories, like those songs stick with me. And yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love like you did a new single that came out a month ago, Blood on My Hands. I love that song. So tell me about like making that song.
Yeah, you know, there was a little bit of downtime from like the whole album and COVID thing, and we were kind of like um, kind of scattered, writing like what our next move should be. Like, we had a bunch of ideas down, and like Blood on My Hands was something that we kind of wanted to get out soon because we had like that was our most finished idea, and it actually kind of reminds me of Running Out of Time, just like a heavier version, obviously. But
Yeah. Yeah, and of
yeah.
course you also have like two new members. I forget who. It's like you, your brother, forget the bass player and drummer's name.
Um, it's Chase, Cantrell, and Ashley.
Chase and Ashley. So how did they end up joining Beyond Unbroken?
Um, Actually, we were doing a show, and my brother was like, so remember when I said at the beginning, I was like, my brother was bouncing around in bands too around the
Yeah.
scene. Well, he used to play with this drummer named Chase, and I know Chase a lot because me and him, like, we had our little bit of history. Chase was like our car ride everywhere in Vegas for everybody. He was the guy with the car. And obviously he had a badass drum set, and like my brother played with him, and I know he was an amazing drummer because me and him jammed when I would go pick up my brother or go hang out with my brother, and I'd watch their band. And like um so my brother calls like, hey, I know we got the show coming up. Chase, remember Chase? And I was like, oh shit, I remember him. He's like, yeah, he wants to come through and play drums for the show. What do you think? And I was like, fuck yeah, bring him by. And Chase basically showed up, learned, like, losing my mind, learned all the songs, and was singing all the backups too while playing drums. And I was like, and also sounds like me. So I was like,
Wow.
oh, dude, that's a fucking no-brainer right there. I was like, hell yeah. I was just like, I was blown away, and I haven't seen him since I was fucking those days back when Vegas when I was little. So it was really cool to like reconnect with him. And yeah, actually, speaking of that, Chase,
Ooh.
Chase, and my brother are right there.
Oh, hey, what's up?
Come on, man. See, we're in our band room. We're about to jam right now.
Nice. Wow, that's awesome.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
so what? So then of course, how did Ashley join?
Oh, so she's not here yet. She's on her way. But
Oh,
so my brother, we didn't have a bass player too, and my brother's like, "Yo, I know it sounds different, but what if I got an idea for a bass player." And I was like, "Okay, what's his name? What do you?" He's like, "Actually, what's her name?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" It's like, "It's a girl." And I was like, "Oh, that's different." I was like, and I was like, "Well, what can she do?" I'm cool with it. Like, and she's like, show me a video of her doing harmonies to Losing My Mind, all the high harmonies, just like effortlessly, you know. Um, and I was like, "Holy shit, dude, yeah, bring her by." And like she came by and started like harmonizing with me on all these harmonies, and I was kind of really interested in that dynamic of songwriting because I've never been in that before. But I always had like ideas for like having a girl's vocals over mine. So it's kind of different having actually her in the band harmonizing with me the whole time. And I was all for it. And she killed it. And that's how she joined.
yeah, and did like Ashley and Chase like bring something they new Beyond Unbroken that y'all didn't have previously?
Yeah. Chase, he has like very raspy vocals, and I have very clean vocals. Obviously, my brother screams, but
Yeah,
then Chase, who has that, he's clean but raspy clean, if you know what I'm saying. Um, he sounds great with me, singing with me and singing backups. And then Ash, she does all the harmonies. And our first real song all together actually was a song that just got released yesterday or 2 days ago, with Andromeda. It was a collab. This guitarist, um, songwriter, Andromeda, he what's the song called? Break the Cycle. Sorry, it's
yeah,
brand. And
yeah.
yeah, that was the first song that all of us vocally are just like slammed in that song. And you could
Nice.
feel the dynamics. Like Chase's grit is, you could hear his grit. You could hear Ash's harmonies, my brother's screaming.
Yeah. Because I remember hearing Blood on My Hands. That's like honestly like the first time I've heard Michael scream. I was like, holy shit, this dude sounds fucking menacing.
Right? He sounds fucking, yes. It's He always sounded great. We just didn't have a chance to like really capture that. Like I didn't know how to record to capture that. And I was like, I got a little bit more educated myself educating myself, and I was like, oh shit, this is
Yeah.
how. He's also finding himself. Like he's like, he's like, well, I didn't know I could do this. Let me play with, like, screamers find out they could scream, and he
Oh
was like,
yeah.
down.
Yeah. Yeah. I could imagine like you should also do like another song where each one of you has a vocal part part or sing a line, and then have like the chorus be like all of you singing together.
Actually, that happens in this new song. We're doing a choir part. We're doing like all of us, Michael's screaming, and all of us come in as a choir, and it's just us four, just a bunch of times. And then Michael's screaming at the end. I'm doing the vocals, and then Chase hits this one line at the very end called "Suffering," and he just has a very raspy voice, and you'll hear him at the end of
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
track.
Yeah, because
Hitting
that has to be hard, like singing and playing drums at the same time.
and that high, like that's high for me, just standing up. And I go on drums and I'm out of breath. I can imagine also projecting singing. It's
Yeah.
definitely crazy.
Yeah. But with this new song, Blood on My Hands, is that like something to like hold people over for the follow up to Running Out of Time, or is that just kind of like a one-off kind of thing?
Oh yeah, it's a follow-up. All these songs right now we'll be releasing are all gonna be a part of our new album that's coming out next year.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I was gonna ask like when if there's like a tentative release date, because I know like you just said next year sometime.
Do you remember I think the release date is like I think they're going for like November. Well, I know it's the end of next year, but we're releasing songs literally
Yeah.
every, and
Yeah.
it could be
It'll be worth the wait.
June. I think
Yeah.
it could be like, actually I think it is around July, because it's only like 5 songs and then drop the album. We just wanted to release first 4 or 5 songs
Yeah.
and then drop.
So we got
So
like one down, four to go.
yeah, and it's like every month, so it's just like January, February, March, April, boom.
Yeah, I feel like that's like a great marketing plan because I've seen a lot of bands like release like almost like half the album and then release the album.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because I know a lot of people like complain like saying like it takes away kind of like the hype of it, but how do you feel about that?
um I don't think it takes a high. I mean, maybe a little bit. I feel like definitely in the age we're living in right now, you definitely have to like be constantly releasing material, right? You have to like upload a picture every day. You have to upload a video, a TikTok every day if you're an influencer or musician or writer. Um, I feel like not too much if you release good content, like you won't have to be so much, Like take
Yeah,
Bad Omens for example. Like they
yeah,
released an amazing album and it's been out for like what, 2 years now? So if you do release quality shit, you don't have to be like, oh shit, we need to release another album right now. But
yeah, yeah, because it's gotta be hard to like be consistent and come up with like new, fresh ideas almost like consistently like that.
definitely is definitely.
Yeah. So, but kind of like in the end to sort of wrap things up, what's next for Beyond Unbroken? Like, you know, you mentioned you're working on new music. Is there like any touring in the works at all, or you just gotta just work on the new music?
Yeah, I mean, we're ready for tour. We got the equipment. We ready to go. But we kind of wanted to, like, instead of jumping that gun and playing shows with like our Spotify kind of growing and our new album not released, we kind of want to get a few songs under our belt and build up a little bit of like a online presence a little bit more, so people actually are like, oh shit, that's where Monty's been, he's been, because like honestly, no one really knows where I've been. So
Yeah.
I kind of want to build up that little online presence and then go jump on the road.
Yeah, yeah, because I've seen only live. There's not really much live stuff from you because I know you played like in the early like been in 2018. You played some shows in Arizona, but I don't think there's really any much live videos of you guys at all.
Yeah, and those videos were last minute shows that we were kind of like, oh shit, and we didn't really get a chance to play like a bunch of shows that, yeah, that I want to
Yeah,
basically do a full tour and stuff. It's been a while since I've done a full tour, and I'm a lot older now and comfy in my home. but I'm still willing to get up there, and because I do miss it a lot. I do miss fucking.
Yeah, yeah. I hope y'all make it over to the East Coast. I'd love to see you play at like the Masquerade in Atlanta or something.
Fuck yeah, I'd love to do. I definitely have a few good tours in me that I want to go. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, so thank you, Monty, for taking this time to do this interview. It's great to be able to hear your history. Is just any final words you want to say to like the people that are watching this video to close this out?
Um. Yeah, I would say our new music's coming out, and to like, you know, keep an eye out for us. And I hope, you know, all the old Escape the Fate fans that do watch this, that know that I will be releasing music, and we're not stopping, yeah, a lot of
Awesome.
cool stuff for us in the future. So
Hell yeah. So everybody, Monty Money from Beyond Unbroken. See you next time.